So, with no further ado, can we please welcome Karen to...
Thank you very much. All right, first thing I'm going to ask you to do is to please, if you feel like it, because it's always a choice when you're adults, is to stand up and just change seats with the person next to you. Could you do that? Okay, thank you. Well, it's not until you step out of your space until you can get a new perspective on how things look. And that's what I was so grateful for with this particular fellowship, was to get the opportunity to move out of my space and see how things were happening in another space, and in this case in Europe. So it's always been hard to explain or describe what I do, because I think consultant sounds very pretentious. And if you use the word presenter, that sounds like you're on Play School, which I really love to think. I used to always say gun for hire, but that doesn't really go down so well these days. So I sort of prefer to stay on video at the front. So working with teachers is something I'm really passionate about. And so therefore, this is my focus. Because I think that short of parenting, teaching is the hardest job you can do. Would you agree with that?
Yes, absolutely.
So, I decided I wanted to go looking for the E in ACFE and VET. So I've actually been working in the sectors for many years, as was introduced, and I actually spent 15 years working in what are now called Learn Locals, what was Morrison House, Dymke Learning Centre, once upon little board houses and now quite glam. And then I worked at Swinburne and I worked at Boxall TAFE working with vets, and I was very involved with helping write the VET-TAL and all of that space. But then eventually, I thought, well, I'll go back to do what I thought I was going to do in the first place, and that's be a secondary school teacher. So I was fortunate to get a job as a director of learning at a large independent school. And my salary had an extra zero on the end. Funny, that isn't it? I was doing exactly the same job I was doing, managing the language and literacy network in the Eastern region, but I had another zero. But, so one of the things that happened for me was I was really excited, is I wasn't a girl up the front anymore, I was in the seat. And I was getting the chance to hear people like Michael Fullan, John Hattie, Professor Hattie, Carol Dweck, Dylan William, all of these amazing researchers and educators, and I was sitting there taking notes going, this is fantastic. Oh, I wish I knew this before. Oh, I wish I could rewind all of my teaching practice. And I found the learning so amazing about how to progress student learning and achievement, the research, the practice. Well, after 5 years, I've got to tell you, I got a bit sick and tired of giving kids detention for not having their socks pulled up. Can you please straighten up your tie to go over? You know, that sort of thing. I didn't want to do that anymore. And despite the fact that the zero fell off my salary, I decided to go back and work in the space that I just really loved, which was the space with vulnerable learners in the ACFE and the VET space. So what I found though on my return was I sort of thought that E had dropped off and there was a C instead, like C for compliance. So, no one's surprised by that, maybe, yes, but I was. So therefore I wanted to focus particularly on sharing that knowledge that I had learned while I had the opportunity and the privilege of attending these very expensive workshops and conferences. But of course, when I mentioned John Hattie in these environments, people would go, huh? Who's that? Carol Dweck. Oh, who's that? Brene Brown. Oh, who's that? And no criticism, but there's never been that opportunity. And I looked and looked and looked to find research into adult education. And I had to go back to pretty well Malcolm Knowles in 1984, who, and there's some stuff, but there's really not that much stuff. And also to recognise and acknowledge that we're not teaching children pedagogy, paediatricians, that's about children, isn't it? We don't thank Malcolm Knowles for coming up with that horrible word andragogy. That is about the world's worst word, I think. I don't like it. And what I found was, with the people I was working with, particularly in the vet space and certainly in the ACFI space, that the strategies and the ideas I was sharing for engaging learners, etc., were brand new to them. They were so excited. And really, all they had, many had, and either had just been to an occasional workshop or they'd done Cert 4 in assessment training. And many were so excited to learn these new things. Now, I do want to acknowledge, and I've just spoken recently to Federation Universities, Erica Smith, I think her name is that right? Yeah. Erica, yeah, thanks. That there is higher ed courses for vet practitioners, but they are not well patronised. And I know that even at La Trobe Uni, where I lecture, in fourth year students lecturing about vet and VCAL and ACFI, they're closing the course down this year. Go figure. So that was what was my motivation, was to see what I could find out if there's something more overseas. So again, new horizons, new eyes, and we got new perspectives. And Cate had done a brilliant job of finding this particular Kickstart conference, which was in Tallinn, Estonia, where we met a range of educators working in this space. We also then shifted on to Helsinki in Finland, because you have to, don't you? Because isn't that where the amazing educational outcomes come from? Ta-da! Yes. We went to Brussels in Belgium and worked with the people there in the department, looking at the EU policies and procedures that they had. We went on to Bruges in Belgium. It's very hard to stay there. I don't know if you've ever been there, but you put it on your bucket list. But we also met people with policy and learned about a whole lot of the fantastic programs that they run there. We went to The Hague in the Netherlands, which I thought was a place, but it's a city. I thought it was a building. The things you find out when you travel. Anyway, and we met Dr. Ralph there, and I'll tell about a bit more about that. And finally ended up in Amsterdam at a university there. And through wonderful contacts that we got through Ala and other colleagues here, met some really amazing educators. So, the kickstart was here. And when I first walked into the room, I have to say I felt a little disappointed. It was like maybe this, not even this many people. I thought, oh my gosh, we've got this fellowship, we've come all the way over here and there's like 20 people. You know, expecting a massive conference. Well, it ended up, it was fantastic, because we had 20 people, representatives from a whole range of countries around Europe, as well as Asia, and as well as us, who are very pleased to get out of the kangaroo koala pins that we gave them. Those koala pins, if you're going on a fellowship, just take buckets of them. Everybody loves them, even the most important people. So this conference was focusing on, and it's just new, see, 5 years old, and they were so excited. It's a great opportunity to be involved, that they are looking at social impact with adult learners and looking particularly at research and policy. And it was as we presented there that we suddenly thought, as Cate said, hey, we're doing a pretty good job. Because by the by, just as a little add-on, we mentioned the A-frame. Any of you learn local people know the A-frame? It's over 10 years ago we wrote it, 8 years ago. They all said, wow, can we have that? That's fantastic. That's amazing. The A-frame's a framework for mapping pre-accredited training. Not about the what, but also about the how. So this opportunity gave us a brilliant network to be part of it, and they really encouraged us to continue. I think I'll trash this. So, as Cate mentioned before, our focus is on the vulnerable learners in credit and post-compulsory spaces. And I was really impacted last week or so when I went to the World Congress of Vet Trainers. Did anyone go to that in the exhibition centre? So that was a huge congress of about 2,000 people of vet and vocational training. And the final speaker was a gentleman from UNESCO who actually heads up vocational education for UNESCO, and he reminded us, now I'll need my bit of paper to get the actual words, but to say one of the UNESCO targets is to make equitable education for vulnerable learners. And I thought, wow, this is a big thing. That's right up on the top of the page. And as Cate said, the cohort of the students that we meet is very varied, very resilient, but very vulnerable. So on one of our first visits, we went to visit a lady who runs a big network of 67 different providers, and very similar to the cohort we met with. And the quote that she gave us was this, and I thought that nails it, which is the lower the skill level of the learner, the higher the skill required by the teacher. So if UNESCO's putting this at the top of their bill, and this is a fact, then what are we doing? And how can we do more of it? Lino's going to talk to you later on about her research from her fellowship into trauma. And I know for myself that in the work that I've done, the teaching I've done, and now the work that I do with teachers is a lot of it's trauma-informed practice. Looking at dyslexia, looking at specific learning disorders, looking at auditory processing disorders, mental health issues, etc., and the list goes on. So this requires really specialised skills. When I started, I taught Shakespeare, and I had a highly motivated group of senior students who took notes. When I teach at the university, they're all sitting there writing. Everyone thinks you're posh because you teach at university. It's the easiest job you can do, because everyone's motivated. But when you work with these students, as Cate said, getting them in the front door in the first place and then keeping them there and engaged is a huge challenge, and it requires a huge skill. So what we were able to look at over in Europe is, so what are they doing about it? And as Cate suggested, policy has been a big focus. And they are really seeing, and it's documented frequently and at the EU in many, many spaces, is that adult education has this key role in overcoming significant societal challenges. So it's not just about babysitting, it's about social capital, because it's about employment, it's about pathways, it's about health, it's about, and we know that education is the ticket out towards a better future. So this policy paper that was looking at those learning and skills that we founded there in Brussels, wasn't it? That we gathered a huge amount of very, very worthwhile and valuable documentation. And one of this was also the Implode project. They like acronyms more than we do. And when they're finished, it's even worse. But looking at the goal of inclusion of marginalised groups in adult education, objectives, what to do and how to do it, and results. Because I'd like to present to you something I'm sure anyone in this room already knows, is that teaching is an art form, it's not a delivery system. And I think for too long in the space of vet, and maybe in that for emerging, it's been a delivery system. It's a skill. So my focus was then on how can we then professionalise our practice. This was not an idea I had in my head when I left. When I went over there, I just wanted to see what teaching and learning strategies existed. But when I went to that first conference, it really zoomed in for me, and it gave me a lens of thinking about what my focus should be. And this is what you might find, those of you who are going off in a fellowship, you may be a bit blurry about what you want to do, but when you get there, the learning and the information you get has high impact. and it helps you focus on what can be a really effective direction for you. Because you might go for another new direction altogether. So it's about shifting from intuitive practice to intentional practice. I believe teachers are born, not made, but it's an ongoing apprenticeship, and I'm learning all the time. But what I would love to see is research into adult learning, just like John Hattie has done research from small children up to graduating students, 300 million students over 30 years, with a meta-analysis of over 12,000 different research papers. And if that's all got to be good to you, feel free to Google John Hattie effect sizes about what has the greatest effect to progress, student learning and achievement. I want to know what that is in the adult learning sector. And so I returned with some key recommendations. That firstly, we need to research what does have the greatest effect. I often transfer across John Hattie's material and use it to inspire and kickstart a conversation, but it's not always relevant. And we are working with a lot of moderators with really disadvantaged students. I would really like to see a policy audit, to really someone to sit down and say, okay, what policy is there? So when I came home, the cupboard was bare. I tried everywhere. If anyone wants to tell me there's some policy, I would love to know more about it, but I tried every department at angle I could and there wasn't a lot. It's pretty thin. And we also need to look at professional learning in a way that respects our educators. I think we need to consider who our workforce is, because currently the conditions are quite poor, the pay is poor. I've been on contract all of my life. I have never had a permanent job when I've worked in this space. We have to look at who's our workforce, why are they learning this, what is their background, and how we can support them. And I personally don't really think expecting people to do a diploma of that is fair. It's expensive, it's timely, and I've put up in the top there, one of the other things Cate and I did was to speak of the badges passport, badges system. And I suggest this is a disruptive technology. Though we tried it a few years ago, so we tried that, it's like teachers, we tried that in 1983, that was good. But I think we saw over there, and Cate will attest to this, that the badges program was very successful over there. So that just as we do with adult learning, just in time and just for need, targeted at the point of need, adult educators can do a course and a program, have some sort of assessment and get a badge, a recognition for it, and they can build it up, sort of like an RPL system. But anyway, that's a discussion I'd love to have. But I think underpinning that is that research informs policy, which can inform practice, and help us to continue to do great job that's happening, but to do even better with